For those of you that have just joined, my name is Mofya Phiri. I'm a customer research advisor at Dobility, the makers of SurveyCTO. So recently we have introduced a new feature that enables users to get started with data collection workflows simply. And that's what we are hoping to discuss throughout this particular webinar. All right, so we'll divide this into 4 sections. We'll start by asking what is the hub, and then why the hub, and then we'll discuss how you can use it, and then we'll conclude by just looking ahead what's coming in the future in relation to the hub. Let's get started by asking what is the hub. Okay, so the hub is a feature that helps you discover and use the best practices and templates for your survey projects. It provides a curated set of resources, okay, which will include sample forms, templates, and workflows to help you get started quickly and efficiently. So it's a central repository of predefined workflow templates that can be installed just using a few quick, simple clicks. Okay. Now, a workflow in essence is a collection of forms, data sets, and media, including things like field plugins or anything else. Okay, and these tend to work together to be able to satisfy a particular objective that you have for data collection. Okay, so if you want to perform something like CATI, which is telephone interviews, there are a number of pieces of SurveyCTO that work together to be able to allow you to do this. So a workflow has all of those bundled together so you can easily get access to them. So the hub offers a wide range of templates that are designed by SurveyCTO experts for various use cases. So we've got use cases like monitoring and evaluation, sample management, computer-assisted telephone interviews, and community health work. Once installed, these templates function exactly like a workflow you could set up manually. So you'll be able to preview the forms using the test view in your server console, or you can even install these to your device so that you can use them for your data collection. And because these workflows are at your disposal, you can then make any modifications that you want to them so that they fit your particular use case. Okay, so that's what the hub is. So why the hub? Why do we think this is necessary? A couple of reasons. First of all, we do get a number of inquiries, such as the ones that we have on the screen. So a user will write to us and say, for example, I'm currently working on a study that requires the creation of a CATI tool, an area that I'm not familiar with yet. Could you kindly provide me with information about the CATI tool and perhaps share a sample tool for reference? That's a user interested in CATI, wanting to get started with CATI and trying to figure out how to get started. We also get questions like, we are linking data from 3 surveys, okay, visit 1, visit 2, and visit 3. Data from earlier visits should be accessible in subsequent ones. Can you show us or provide us a way of being able to link these particular visit information? So what the hub does is then it provides easy responses to these. A person can go into the hub, install a workflow, and be able to test these out. But also there are users who just want to explore the features of SurveyCTO. So I'm not looking for a specific workflow, but I'm interested in seeing how SurveyCTO accomplishes something. How does SurveyCTO do? How can SurveyCTO be applied in monitoring and evaluation? By going to the hub, you'll be able to access and see how you can use SurveyCTO as a solution for this. And because of this, there are several benefits that then you can have. Most of the time, when you're working on a certain workflow, you might find that the workflow uses multiple features of SurveyCTO. So it might use a form, it might use a data set, it might even use a field plugin. So all of those are working together. It's not always clear when you're getting started to see how do these particular features that I want work together to give me the solution that I want. So what the hub does then is that it gives you a starting point where you can see this is how you can put all of these features together to actually solve a particular problem. But also, it's going to save you time because you'll be able to use pre-built templates and workflows. Okay. The hub feature provides pre-built templates and workflows that are ready to use. And essentially, this means that you not have to start from scratch every time you want to create a survey, but you can get this template, okay, and then modify the particular template to your own specific needs. But also, it ensures data quality by following best practices. So the hub is built on the best practices for field data collection and survey design. So because you're using the hub, you're not just getting a tool, but you're also getting a guide that helps you see how you can apply best practices in your case. So even if you've developed a certain workflow before, by looking at how it's developed in the hub, you'll be able to see what are the best practices for me to do this particular type of data collection. Ultimately, you end up with data that is of high quality, but even data that is reliable. Okay, but more than that, you also be able to learn from the experts in the field. Okay, all the workflows that we have been developed by experts in SurveyCTO. So by looking at those, you'll be able to see how to build your own workflows by following best practices. And essentially, you'll be learning from the experts, and you'll be able to see how to do it well. Okay, so you'll be able to improve your skills. You'll be able to improve your knowledge. But more than anything, you'll be able to get started really, really quickly. Okay, because there are sample forms and there are templates that you can use, and these cut across a number of areas. And so regardless of the area that you're looking for, there's a high likelihood that you find a sample form that works for you. And so you can easily get started. All right. So how exactly do you get started with the hub? Okay. And at this point, I'll jump into my server console and be able to just demonstrate this to you. This is my server console. I'll just reload my page quickly so that everything is refreshed. But even as that is happening, you will see that we now have a new tab on our server console, which is called the Discover tab. Previously, we just had these 5 tabs, but now we've got the Discover tab. If for some reason you log into your server console and you can't see the Discover tab, it's most likely that you don't have permissions for this tab to show, okay? And like all other permissions, you would need to reach out to an administrator on your server, and the administrator on your server can give you the permissions to see this. Administrators are able to configure these particular permissions from the Configure tab. Okay, so in the Configure tab, for any user role, I'll just use this user role as an example. Okay, just click on Edit here. You see that you now have these 2 options, hub access. So you can give hub access, and then you can also allow for hub importation. So for administrators, you jump here and make sure that the role that the user has is able to access the hub. If you can't see the Configure tab, it might be that you're not an administrator on your server. So just find out who the administrator is, and they'll be able to help you. So we've got the Discover tab there. In the Discover tab, you see multiple workflows, okay? And like all other tabs, we start off with an introduction. Okay, so there's an introduction that tells us a little bit about what this tab is, and also some links to some resources that are useful for it. And then below here, we have the list of workflows. There are quite a number of workflows that are here, and we have the ability to filter them. Okay, so you can search for a particular one. So if, for example, I wanted to come here and say, maybe I want to search for Kati. I'm trying to track something Kati. So I'll just say Kati here, and then I'll click on Apply, and then I'll be able to see the workflow for Kati. So that's my Kati workflow. These workflows are also categorized. So there are survey methods workflows, and then there are data collection modes, and so on and so forth. So you can search through that to just find exactly what it is that you are looking for. So once you found what you're looking for, you've got an install button here. You click install, and you'll be able to test that out. Okay, so let's go right ahead and do that. I need to look for a workflow. Let's go contains. Let me say I'm looking for workflow around market research. So we've got this workflow around market research. All I need to do is to come here and click on install. Okay, and it confirms the workflow that I would like to install. So I'll say yes here, and then I can choose where I want to install this. I can either create a new group, or I can use an existing group. For this one, let's use an existing group. So I'll click on existing group here, and then I will click on install. And SurveyCTO begins installing this particular workflow to our server. Let me click OK there. And when I come here in the group that I had selected the group Team C forms. I'm able to see this form for market research. And I can go ahead and just click on test to actually begin to see how exactly this form works. Okay, so let's just quickly look at this form to appreciate what is going on. Okay, so it's got an intro page here. And then when I click next, I can see that there's also another introductory page here, and it's actually using some images. So all of these images that this particular workflow is using were loaded right at the point at which I clicked install. So I can quickly just see how market research would work. So there's an introductory page here. I'll go to next here. And then there are some questions here, and I can see that this particular form uses a progress bar. Okay, so I don't need to know how to build a progress bar in SurveyCTO. Just by picking this up, I'm able to see what a progress bar would look like. Okay, and then there are questions in there. I can answer these questions that are here, forward, and then there are also all of these other options that are available. So I can see what kind of features are available for me when I'm doing a market research. I might not need all of these features immediately. And so I can edit this form to change it to the needs that I have. And so in this case, there's a video here. So you can see how you can load a video within the form. And within this page, you can see there are Likert scales here that I can pick answers for. Let me just say no here, or I could say yes to see some of the extra features that are there. But you can see that as I'm progressing, there's a progress bar that's telling me how far I've gone. This is using a nice presentation of text, which tells me how much text I can enter there. So if I start typing, you can see that the number of text entry are limited. And so these are things that are available. In fact, this is being done by a field plugin. This field plugin has been attached to the form just when I installed this. And so I have all of these available. So let me quickly just get through the form. All right, there we go. There's a slider here. And then there's an image right at the end there. So we are able to very quickly get started with any form and actually work through it and see what is going on. And you can modify this. So if you go to edit here, you get the same familiar interface for editing the form. And so you can begin to edit this, change the text to your own, add your own information, remove what you don't need, and so on and so forth. And you can even download this. So if I click on save here, download, and I can get an Excel version that I can edit on my device and make sure that this goes to be exactly what I want it to be. All right, so that's how we would get started and work with a template. Okay, but there are more complex cases. So for example, when you work with case management, okay, for those that are not familiar with case management, it's just a way that we're able to organize our cases, okay, so that it's easier to track information about a certain entity over a period of time. SurveyCTO offers this case management feature. With case management, you need to take a couple of extra steps to make sure that your form or your workflow is set up well. And the steps are very simple. Okay, first of all, you need to create a user role and then assign a cases data set to that particular user role, and then create a user for that particular user role. All right, let's see how we can do that. I know that one workflow that uses case management is our CATI workflow. Okay, so I will install that. So I'll come back to my Discover here, under my filters here. I'll just clear my filters, and then I will look for CATI. Okay. And then click Apply. All right, so that's my CATI workflow. I'll click on Install here, and then say yes. Just for a difference, I'm going to change and install this in another group. So let me say I'm going to create a group called just CATI, and then click on Install. Okay, and this begins to install our workflow. This workflow will be installed in a separate group within our Design tab. Okay, so it's almost there. Once it's installed and I click OK, I'm able to come across here. And now in my design tab, I'm able to see a new group that's called CATI. Okay. And when I open that, I will see these tools or these different parts that work together to accomplish CATI within SurveyCTO. So I've got the form itself here, and this form actually has got 3 data sets. Okay, there's an enumerator data set to manage the enumerators. There's a cases data set to manage the cases, and then there's a phone number data set that manages the phone numbers. But you can see just one click, I'm able to install all of these together. Now, we said that for us to set up our case management, we need to, first of all, create a user role. And with that user role, assign it our cases dataset. So our cases dataset for this CATI is called cases_CATI_1. So I'll just copy this over, right? And then I will go to the configure tab. This is where you can create user roles. So I'll go to configure, and then I'll click on create a new user role. Okay, I'll give it a title here. For clarity, I'll just call this CATI user. Okay, and then you can see here, it says, please provide the dataset ID for case management. Okay, right now it says cases, but we want it to have access to our cases_CATI_1 cases dataset. Okay, provide short description. I'll just call this, just say CATI user here. And then I will pick the different permissions that this user row has. Okay, in this case, this is just somebody who does data collection. So I'll pick the rows. I'll copy the rows from the data collection user. So I'll click that, and then I will go ahead and just create a row. And I have a user, okay, a user row called CATI user, which has access to my cases dataset. And so the next step was to create a user who is assigned this particular row. How do we do that? So we'll scroll down, okay, to our list of users, and I will say add a user, okay, and I'll pick a user row, and I will use my CATI user as the user row, and then I will give this a name. Because it's a simple user, I will just say, let me say CATI_user, that's the username, and then I'll give it a password. Right, so we've got a password there, and I have added this this user. We don't want to save that. Okay, so now I can log into my workflow, this particular workflow, and have access to the cases and all of this information from that particular user. I'll just open a new tab here, an incognito tab, and then browse to the cases for this particular case management workflow. Okay, so I'll come here. And what I've done here is I've put in my server name, and I've added the cases URL at the end. And so I'll log in with that user I just created. So CATI_user, and then continue. I'll put in the password that I just created, and then log in. And you can see that I can immediately begin to manage my cases. And when I click on manage cases, I will see the list of cases here. Where are these cases from? All right. So if I minimize this and I go back into this CATI cases dataset, if I click on edit, I'm able to see these particular cases. These are the cases that I have in here. So these cases have been assigned to this particular user, and they can access that. Okay. And it's quite easy to go from there. So you can pick a case, and then when you pick that particular case, you can begin to fill out the form. Okay, so that relationship between the cases, the enumerators, and all of that has been set up already, and you're able to work it out from there. Hopefully that is clear and helpful in terms of how we do that. The last part is just to think about what is coming next. Okay, well, there are a couple of things that we're excited about. First of all, one thing that we're excited about is the ability to give you as organizations the ability to create your own workflows. Okay, so right now we have workflows that have been created by the team of experts at SurveyCTO, but you might have internally as an organization certain workflows that you reuse over a period of time or share even across a number of countries. you could set up those workflows using best practices and share those across. So that's one thing that is going to be possible. So similar to what we have in the image here, the ability to add your own workflows and be able to do this. This is not yet available, but it's something that will be coming. But also, right now we have a fixed list of workflows that we have worked on so far. So when you come here and go back to Discover, there is a limited number of workflows that are here. We are excited to hear from you what kind of workflows you'd like to see there, what kind of workflows you'd like the SurveyCTO team to work on and add to the hub, such that the next time you come to the hub, you'll be able to find those. And so if you have any suggestions about workflows that you'd like to see there, feel very free to either submit a forum post. So you can go to the forum and you can put a suggestion there so that others can comment on it, but also the team can review it and see whether it's something that we can work on. But also you can submit a support ticket. So for those that are paid users, you have access to a support center. Feel free to submit a support ticket, and then we'll be able to review the different workflows that are there. But we're excited about hearing how you think this might be useful for you as a team, whether you would like to be able to add your own workflows and how that would look like. And also, we're excited to hear from you about what the possibilities would look like in terms of what kind of workflows you'd like to see there. As always, feel free to get in touch with us through these means that are available. Okay, so you can connect with Maria. If you don't use SurveyCTO before, you're just looking to get started, you want access to the hub, test out workflows, see whether SurveyCTO is a good fit, reach out to Maria through that email address there. But if you're a paid user, you have access to our support team 24/7. So feel free to open a support ticket and we'll be able to advise on whether a certain workflow that you're looking for already exists, so how would go about helping you set that up. But if you're not a paid user, you can also post your suggestions on the forum. And obviously, you can keep an eye out for announcements about when it will be possible for you to add your own workflows through our social media, so Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So feel free to follow us and subscribe to those, and we'll be able to engage with you there.